In today's broadcast, I'd like to talk to you about an experience I just had at the Arthur Findlay College. I enrolled in a week-long program called the Foundations in Spirit. For those of you who do not know about the Arthur Findlay College, it's a school dedicated to mediumship and psychic phenomena and various elements of spirituality. It's known as the Harvard of Mediumship. I had taken a course earlier this year at a spiritualist church right around the corner and was exposed to the school at that point and went home on a whim and booked the course. It was January for when I booked the course for this September. I didn't know really what to expect. Part of my own spiritual journey has been to try different things, and so I got myself on an airplane on Friday, September 20th, and made my way over across the Atlantic Ocean and stayed outside of London and then over to the college itself, which is east of London. I went into the experience fairly worn out. My mom had passed away in August 17th actually, and there had been a lot of activities obviously leading up to her passing. She was in hospice. And then following that, there was a lot of arrangements to be made, and we actually did her funeral service on Saturday, September 14th. So this was literally 5 days later that I'm on an airplane on my way to the UK. I arrived at the college on Saturday afternoon, September 21st, and checked into my room. This is a old English style manor home, or whatever you want to call it. To me, it was like a castle. It was huge, sprawling rooms and beautiful gardens, and it was a real pleasure just to be there. As I said, I didn't really know what to expect, but I was looking forward to having some time, to myself, and to be able to, at this point, I thought intellectually investigate some of the spiritualities I had been uncovering. What I found almost immediately was there was an amazing sense of energy at the college itself. The people brought that as well. Everybody was eager to be there, as if sort of the first day of camp kind of feeling. But just the sacred walls and hallways themselves, and then I really immediately gravitated towards this outdoor lawn, which was a very large lawn that sprawled into huge trees, and then horses in the background, and it was a very beautiful setting. We had a smaller than usual class. There's only 12 of us, and then with 2 instructors, and they broke us up into groups of 6. We did some of the coursework was done with all 12, and then some was typically when we did more of the exercise, they were in groups of 6 of us. We bonded almost immediately, and had a great sense of fellowship going into this. I wasn't overly focused, quite honestly, on the actual coursework. I had been exposed to various aspects of psychicness and mediumship. But for me, what I could tell right away was that this was going to be a magical experience, in that through the people that I met and the conversations that I had, and the types of things that we discussed throughout the week, was going to be really what really made it an important opportunity for me. One of the exercises we did on Monday, so this was a couple days into it, was to go outside and essentially commune with nature. So we were not allowed to talk. Once she gave us the instructions, and I walked outside, and I went out to my favorite lawn, and towards the very back, where there was a stone wall, and there was a large Scotland rowan tree, it was called. And so I was starting to record various things I saw on the grass, and how the bark worked its way into the grass, etc. Sort of almost like a reporter would be on the scene. And it was at that point that I started feeling waves of emotion coming over to me. I wasn't quite sure where they stemmed from, but I was, trying to stuff them down. And and focused more on, the fall in the UK, which is a beautiful time of year there. And as I tried more and more to suppress these emotions, they started overwhelming me, and I thought, for the first time I actually, got very tearful and started breaking up emotionally, and I'd realized that I hadn't really done a lot of grieving when it came to my mother. It just had been on autopilot as we put all the pieces together. So I had a very cathartic experience that afternoon, going through that. And then as I sat there with my hand up against this huge tree, a song started, or at least the opening words of a song started playing in my mind, which turned out to be a Simon and Garfunkel song. The opening line is "A winter's day." And so when I got back into the classroom, which we were supposed to do after 20 minutes or half hour after there, and you were supposed to either write a poetry or prepare something that you were going to present to the class later that evening. And so I started looking up the song lyrics using my iPhone, and discovered it was the song from Simon and Garfunkel called "I Am a Rock, I Am an Island." And as I read through the lyrics, I continued to get very emotional, and the song spoke basically about somebody who had, in this case, was a breakup, but essentially when something had happened that was something worthwhile grieving, they had instead become a rock or an island. And at the very end of the song, the lines are, "And a rock feels no pain, and an island never cries." So I found that very poignant, and I got up later that evening and sort of choked my way through this experience that I had with my out by my tree, and kind of went through this, and I read the lyrics of the song. And so as I said, I had gone there not really knowing what to expect, and as we had discussed with my two instructors, a lot of the experience at Arthur Findlay is actually opening yourself up, allowing the spirits that are around there to kind of break down the walls that had been so constructed so meticulously. And so I found that, in the beginning of the week, I felt it was a good opportunity to open up. I'm usually friendly, but I've got some walls up, as we all do. And so through that experience, I met 3 other people in particular. And by the end of the week, we had developed a nickname for us, which was the Fantastic Four. 2 were from the UK, and the other one was from Sweden, and then myself from America. And that was actually a nice part about the week as well. I was the only American in this class of 12, and I mean, it was actually a nice experience. And we had somebody from Sweden, Australia, Germany, Japan, so it really ran the gamut. But we spent plenty of time together, the 4 of us, and then the rest of our classmates. Long conversations at the break, and then they had a little pub that opened up at 9 every night, and then went to 11. So we found ourselves in there and just having great conversations. And as I said, it was a well-timed experience for me. The lesson I took away in part was that it's really the journey where the important stuff happens. So many times we plot on paper that we want to get from point A to point B, and we put our nose to the grindstone and figure out how we're going to get there. But really, it's the process itself. It's even the trip over and back, meeting the people and being open to where you may be being led. A lot of synergies you can notice come out of these kinds of experiences, and I came back with that attitude. I got back on the 29th of September, and since then, the last week and a half, I've really tried to not rush in traffic and not worry so much about getting from one place to the other, but to really kind of enjoy the ride as we go along. So I recommend you check out the Arthur Findlay College if any of this is interesting to you. As I said, their real claim to fame is in mediumship, and they're part of a spiritualist church. And there were two services that occurred during my time there, one on Sunday night and one on Wednesday night. And if you've never seen one of those, they're quite interesting. They bring in people who've passed over and find somebody within the congregation who knows the person, and it's a sort of a, by process of elimination, they figure out which person in the congregation they're with, and then the spirit gives them clues and facts about their life, and it's pretty powerful to watch. So I recommend that you check out the Arthur Findlay College, or here in the United States, there's a lot of similar things, either through Meetup or the Spiritualist Church is very active here in the United States as well. Thank you for listening.